Hey guys, it's me again, Orclair What Ifs. Where last left off, they're about to play Capture the Flag. So on Deku's team, they have Ida, Bakugou, Momo, Deku and Shinzo, not Shiro. Deku and Shiro, Shinzo, Todoroki and Sero, Bakugou and Uraraka, Ida and Mei, Momo and Tokoyami, Ashido and Aoyama, Tetsu and Kirishima, and I think I've already said Kaminari and Ibara, I believe so at least. Then there's Griff, Simmons, and I forget Caboose, and that's about it. There's 19. Now on the other team, they have Carolina, Monoma, Kendo, pretty much the entirety of 1B aside from Tetsu, and Kendo, or however many survive that. I'll say they have Beast Dude, what was their name? Beast Dude, Glue Guy. Well, Glue Guy, would he? I'll say they pretty much have all the ones that would be considered human-like, instead of being, because they all have to take off individual pieces of armor and such, and the Glue Guy probably wouldn't have one. And Caboose's thing is one size fits all, essentially. And there's Carolina, Washington, and the 1A people who didn't cut it on, who didn't get separated into Deku's team, quote unquote. That being said, they're all coming up with a plan with Carolina and such, saying that, okay, the ones we gotta get rid of first is Bakugou, Todoroki, and Deku, most definitely. Maybe even Ida. But since we aren't allowed to use our quirks in this, I'll say we should all try to focus on getting Deku out of there. Because knowing him, he's probably going to be the one to put himself in charge, and Bakugou is going to try to clash with him. Bakugou, if you guys get the chance, eliminate Bakugou. He's the main one who's probably going to try to rush out on his own. As during this time of coming up with a plan, they get taught how to use the weapons as well. Pull of trigger, reloading, etc. The police, or several sponsors, actually question, how does this prove the effectiveness of their thing? Of Caboose's equipment that he's creating. That seems like it would be much better to be seen in the hands of professionals. As they then go on to explain that Caboose's gear is one thing, like his stuff. As then they go on to explain that it's sort of like a commercial break, sort of. As it's also a fun pastime. As then that's explained to them, they're like, fine. As, who's the extra person that was supposed to be on Deku's team to even out 20? I'll say they just have a few no-names. Or, I'm trying to remember. They had 42 students, and by the end of it, they had enough for 14 matches, so 28 people. Yeah. So I forget some of the other matches and such, so sorry for that. Well, anyways, that out of the way. They get that underway. As then Deku's, Ida's strategy is, first of all, they should probably focus on getting the ball. Or not the ball, but the flag. Because once they capture the flag, they win. So they'll have, let's see, as he's deciding, we're not allowed to use our quirks, so they put, whoever on guard duty. I'll say Mina, Oyama, and Tokoyami on defense of the flag. Then they'll have the rest of them trying to make a break or trying to push past the other teams. that they should probably try to stay down. That they're only disqualified until they can no longer move. So if their knees are frozen, if they can still crawl, they can still play, quote unquote. But if their arms and such are stuck as well, they really can't. So as long as they're able to fire the weapon, they can continue going. As there's no real boundaries, it's around the entire thing. So 28 people, or well, 28 people on for each team as they start moving in. As Carolina said to focus on defense, while Ida's plan was a more aggressive style. So as teams are starting to move in, and I'll say instead of doing like 4 and 4, they did like teams of 4 and 5. Deku was pretty much sent on soloing, like solo op, you could say, try and see if he could get past them. As then he was recognized as having his own suit, so they just pretty much made it red, if I remember correctly. So, well, they made it red, yeah. So as they started moving in, everyone's like, alright. As some people actually started getting nervous, like started going like, this doesn't feel right. As then out of nowhere, just like little BR rifle sounds and assault rifle sound just started going off. As then people had said, I'm out, as they immediately started showing like on a board or whatever, like people who started getting ticked off as people who started getting like checked off as it's like Kendo, Tetsu, Kirishima. Then several of the others on the blue team started going down. As that's when Ida, Todoroki, and the rest of them started making contact, you could say. People are questioning this doesn't make sense. These are complete amateurs versus complete amateurs. So as Carolina's taking care of quite a few of them, along with Agent Washington helping taking care of quite a few of them, Deku's going to town, and he's just, the FI are going to town as Delta and them are constantly slowing down time to get a correct visual. As they start looking all around them, it's like, alright, duck on the left, as then it's like, just a few shots. This guy's like, I'm down. It's a constant, I'm down. By the end of it, there's only around like 6 people left on Deku's team. Bakugou went down when he tried to fight Carolina hand to hand when Washington pretty much just shot him in the back, freezing over his head. As he's like, Rrr. As he tried to get back up, it's like, you were shot in the head, you're out. As it's like, oh. As then the rest of them just started. Carolina and Washington started hunting down pretty much Deku with at least 5 people on defense for the blue team, and then there's 3 people on defense for the red team. As Agent Washington's like, let's just go for the flag. As Carolina's like, no, if we take out Deku, he may actually already... red team wins. As it showed in quick succession how... Well, even, I'll say before that, it's just that Ida and Todoroki found the 2 of them, as it's just like, as they're about to open fire, they are like, out of ammo. As they go for their sidearms, it just, another firefight, as Todoroki's like, Ida. As Ida's like, listen, Todoroki, go right, I'll go left. As it's like, alright. As in, they get Washington after like surprise attack, but then they're like, where's Carolina? As she jumps down, kicking one of them, as it's like, oh! Ida tries to defend against her, but she just sweeps his leg and like shoots him in the face. Then Todoroki rolls away, firing his little magnum, picking up Washington's. As then he just dual wields them, trying to pick her off, saying, dang it! As then eventually it's, as when Caroline has him on his back, Deku's pretty much destroyed any resistance, as he took down Suyu, what were their names? I believe it was Suyu, Multiple Arms Dude, what was the name? Tokayami, Multiple Arms Dude, Invisigirl, Sugar Man, Koda, the Anna voice, and I believe that's 4. So who was the 5th member? I'll say it was Kendo, as she left. Carolina left Kendo in charge, being one of the more competent ones, you could say. As how it happened, as they show a replay, as when it's like, as first off, he's like climbing up the building, as when Toro's like, do you think this is okay? As then, as she's frozen over, she's like, oh! As before, Octo Arms actually pulled out like 4. Well, actually, he only pulled out 2 pistols, or like a BR and then the pistol. As in quick succession, it was like, pew, 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 freezing the 2 of them over. As then Kendo was about to sneak up on Deku, but then they're like, slow down time. As when they saw, like, peeked around, they saw her right there. The FI ducked and then quickly grabbed her arm and then like lifted her up. As then the other Magnum was like right at her face, as it's like, oh. As a lot of them are much smaller than Deku. As he goes over and claims the blue flag. Red team wins. I believe it was red team. Yes, red team wins. As Carolina's like, oh. As several people are like, those are actually pretty good. They stopped them in the tracks. That's pretty nice. Alright. As then it's like, now for the thing. As they saw how Deku did, so for the first match, they'll have multiple people fight against Deku. And a sort of, they'll have Caboose, Griff, Simmons, and Shinzo versus Deku. As everyone's watching there, Sarge is like, Griff, make sure you get hurt plenty. And Simmons, make sure you make fun of Griff. As Griff's sister's like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Oh wait, I forgot about Tucker. Tucker's also on their team. As he pulls out, gets his like energy blade out, as he's like, let's do this. As Shinzo's like, so you guys are, as Shinzo knows them and just thinks and finds them funny, you could say. He's like, so looks like we guys are doing this together. He's like, yeah, I guess so. Anyway, as when it's like Deku who finally steps on the arena, as they're like, alright, if I can get him to talk, you guys just get him to talk. As they're like, what? Why? You know what my quirk is? And they're like, oh, right. So as they just start shouting insults at Deku, as he's rushing forward, he actually punches Griff, as then Griff just like slides back as he's like, oh. As then he comes in throwing a punch, Deku, or the FI, immediately kick Griff right into the side, sending him flying off the platform. As he's like, oh. As Simmons is like, Griff. As then Simmons tries to come throwing in punches. Actually, scratch that. It was Simmons doing it first, yelling insults, very confusing ones. As then at the same time, Griff just jumped on his back and just starting to putting him in a chokehold. It's like, our dad's an ex-Marine, we know a thing or two. As then he just get thrown off by Deku, as the AI or the FI are not wanting to hurt them, so they're not really using strength enhancer. As they're just picking them up with their normal strength and slamming them, as it's like, oh. As then Tucker comes in like swish, swish, as he accidentally stabs into Deku, as it's like, oh god, I didn't mean that. As Deku, as the body at least, grabs Tucker, as everyone's like, oh my god. And then watches as Tucker gets punched across the arena. As then a faint green light like goes around Deku. As then Shinzo is almost finished off, as he pretty much gets kicked out of there. As Caboose right now, as it's like, Caboose, can you get a little bit of angry? As it's like, why? As Caboose is like, but I'm not angry at Deku. As Omega's like, As it like flies out, going into Caboose's head, as then it quickly flies back. As like, what did you do? I triggered some anger problems. As he got his full strength at the ready, as Caboose came rushing in, as they literally clash fists, sending out a massive shockwave as everyone in the arena felt that like pressure go boom. It actually broke some of the glass as everyone's like, what the hell? As then when they saw this, even the AI actually felt that, or the FI felt that in Deku's arm. As Delta's like, why did you make him angry? It was illogical. Omega says, this doesn't count if we don't win it with everything. As Sigma's like, I agree. It's like, let's try not to hurt Caboose too much. As when Caboose came punching them, he sent Deku rolling, actually breaking his nose. As he's like, snorts out some of it out, like a little blowing some of it out of his nose. It's like, well, you see here, folks, here's the thing. Caboose from support class, whichever it is, has this strange habit. He's generally a nice guy and does not like to get angry. But when he rouses from his anger, he's pretty much almost unstoppable. As then they come together like grappling, as then the Omega and them are barely able to hold Caboose back with their strength quirk alone. As he's activated the limiter, as they clash fists a few more times, throwing up a shield as soon as like they get some distance. As Caboose comes rushing in, punching it, they was like, oh, I kind of felt that one. Then it's like, Sigma, speed up. As then they speed up, immediately going like running around as soon as the energy shield starts collapsing, as they're very fast. As they grab Caboose trying to run over, Caboose grabs him by the arm and slams him down on the ground as it's like, oh! As then Caboose comes kneeing their face as it's like a smashing right into the forehead of them as they're sent tumbling again. Caboose is then still right on them as he punches them a few more times, breaking a few of their bones, as then they finally just get close enough as to when they just throw Caboose out. As it's like, ow, 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 ow. As Caboose is like, what happened? I don't remember. As everyone's like, that was awesome! As then so like, cheers all around. As then, Delta goes to Recovery Girl instead of activating his healing quirk. He's like, let's not overdo it today. I think he may have broken several bones. As in, it's like, you have several broken bones and cracked bones. Some of them are close to fracturing. What did you do to him? As the AI or the FI are outside saying, I just made him angry. I regret it. As they like roll over on their back, it's like, oh. It's like, well, try not to do that next time. As then Recovery Girl's like, well, you should wait here for a little bit to rest up, or at least let the body. I don't know if you guys need them. As it's like, we are unsure. As they just start reminiscing again on how it's been a while since they've been thrown around like that. Aside from the whole being almost killed at the USJ, the only times they've been thrown around like that is by Bakugou and Tex. Or Allison. It's like, I wonder what happened. Wonder, did they ever recover anything? They're like, yeah. Well, the explosion was pretty big and severe. Nobody none of the bodies there were truly recovered. Even the villains, they found several, but none of them were ever matched to hers. The ones that were survived were so almost on the point of being turned into dust, so it makes sense. As they're like, that's too bad. As then they immediately cut to Sero being destroyed because Endeavor pretty much chastised Todoroki for such a poor display. In that even if Todoroki is physically superior, I guess would be the best way. Well, not physically, but better trained in Endeavor's eyes. He was still beaten by just someone from 1A. He's like, shut up, old man. As he still does the whole, I'm not going to use your quirk, whoa, 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 whoa. As then they go through the festival as they normally would. Deku beating, Bakugou and all of them getting up as they typically would. Fortunately, Carolina isn't there. So as that being said, comes down to Deku versus Todoroki. As then Todoroki ended up fighting, not Todoroki versus Deku, so let's see how this turns out. Todoroki, well, Endeavor tried to do the whole encourage Deku, but he, not encourage Deku, but told him to encourage Todoroki or whatever, that he doesn't say, you're kind of like All Might. There's no similarities between All Might and Deku at all. At least in his eyes. As then, the Omega comes out saying, Todoroki isn't you. As then Theta says, come back. As Delta says, that is illogical, Endeavor. Actually, before Omega saying, that is illogical, Endeavor. Todoroki is making a free will of choice to not use his fire quirk. And before you say anything, it is his fire quirk. It is illogical for you to claim it as yours. It is not your power, it is his. For if it was your power, you'd have complete control over it, but you do not. As then, switches to Black as, don't you dare tell me what to do ever again, unless I'm put directly under your orders. As in, Omega is trailing behind the body. As then when they get out there, everyone's saying, as they are saying, well, not there, but President Mike is saying, and here, ladies and gentlemen, the matchup we've been waiting for. The half-hot, half-cold boy, I forget his name, Shoto Todoroki. As then it's, and in the next corner, the one who dominated during Capture the Flag, it's Izuku Midoriya. The multiple quirk wonder, Izuku Midoriya. He has shields, he has strength, he has speed, he has healing. What else does he have? We have yet to see. As then Todoroki is just doing the monologue as he's looking down on the ground, as then he immediately turns, as Deku turns invisible. As he's slowly but and quietly making his way, as Todoroki's where in the... As he hears a small little thud, as then he's freezing over that entire area, as then Sigma immediately gets him out there, rushing over, as it's you're fast. As then he tries to use the iceberg attack, as then Omega immediately, not Omega, but I'll say Theta immediately puts a bubble shield around him at maximum strength, as it's is it over? As then they just hear smash, 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 as they bust their way through the ice cap, as then immediately switch to speed, grab Todoroki and throw him into the iceberg, making a giant thwack sound as he crashes into it, as it's ugh. As they crack their knuckles in their neck. Signature move. As in, it's if you aren't going to take this seriously, don't... As Omega comes out, if you aren't going to take this seriously, then get out of here. As he goes to throw him, Todoroki stops himself with the ice, as he typically would. As he's gonna hit me with your fire quirk at least. Ice is easy to deal with. Even Todoroki is still doing the whole angry thing, so Deku pretty much just starts clearing out ice using, Deku clears out the ice using full percents of his strength, as he smashes each and every one of them away with maximum strength, as everyone's dang, these 1 years are strong. Imagine how much stronger they can get. As several of them say, I think that kid's probably pretty much is as strong as he could be. From looks of it, he doesn't use that amount of strength for long periods of time. Maybe it's because it's his time limit. From what the thing says, it says his quirk is based on his brain activity and such, or whatever. And each one, if he activates it for its full potential for longer periods of time, he may go unconscious. Like I said, the reports were released after suffering some major injuries during that whole USJ incident. he healed himself, but he did it too many times, and his healing, and he sort of went unconscious for a little bit. And it's like, got a point there. Well, anyways, as Todoroki's trying to freeze Deku, but the FI are keeping on their toes, just dodging and breaking the ice, pretty much beating Todoroki around. As then Todoroki does the whole, I will never use this quirk. As Omega gets fed up hearing this, just says, "It's your quirk, not his. You have such great potential, yet you waste it on petty things like this. Fuck your dad, fuck everyone, fuck anyone who doesn't care about you, alright? Stop being such an emo little fuck. You have the hair color of an ice cream. Stop it!" As then he rushes forward, smashing Todoroki in the face one last time. As when he's on the ground, he does the whole exploding thing with fire. As then it's like, as he does the whole flash freeze, trying to burn Deku, Theta threw up a shield and they had to hold it. As this came with force of however strong of an explosion it was. I don't know if it's like one of level for All Might's power, but I'll say it's decently strong to where Theta's like, it's pretty much like on its back if you were able to peer inside Deku's head, as it's like, "Are you okay, Theta?" And he's like, I'm alright, just I need some time to rest. As it kind of is flickering on and off, as it's like, "Take some rest, Theta. You need it," is what Delta says. Omega says, "Yes. If you aren't going to be any use, get out of here." As it's like, alright, as it flickers off, finally. As Todoroki is standing there, with his shirt all in explosions and such, and they stand back up, as they actually have a bit of blood coming out of their nose. As it's like, "Yeah, look at that." As they wipe it away, they immediately go full speed and just shove Todoroki out of the arena for the final time. And it's like, and there you go, folks. Izuku Midoriya has won this match. And I have enough time. And now, as they continue forward, now, after they go through the entire thing, same way they would as usual, encouraging words from Delta to the rest of them, being very encouraging and such. Todoroki loses and is out of the arena, saying the same thing he does to Endeavor. As All Might is watching it from the stands, and he definitely has more regret after seeing how far the FI have come. As then he remembers himself when he used to be so weak. If it wasn't for Nana Shimura believing in him, he would have never done anything. Izuku, as he's thinking to himself, lost one of the more important people to his life, who supported him all. So I guess in a strange way, as he starts thinking about it, it's a strange way that it's a good thing I did that to him. Otherwise, they, as he refers to them as they, or Deku as they, wouldn't have come this far. No one else knows aside from the teachers, it seems, and that one kid named Caboose. As then he talks about, as with the other teachers, he talks about how crazy strong Caboose is. As they're like, yeah, seriously. He's apparently very dumb when it comes to a lot of things, or naive at the very least. So when it comes to engineering and stuff, some of that stuff he's made is actually really good. And the police, even actually the military, are actually requesting some combat gear, you could say. They're wanting to turn Caboose's armor and such, at least the ones that we've been looking at, into the new riot gear. As in the police would be given armor similar to it, but not as heavily armored. And the military, well, they're wanting to incorporate other systems into it. They see this as the future for those, as the armor is sturdy and such. They're wanting to see what bullets will actually do against it. So, yeah. And the police are wanting those bullets that make people free, so yeah, the police, things are going to change around here thanks to Caboose. Even the military are actually wanting the brute shot design. As they actually ask what else he's made, and they've seen the brute shot design, they think it's brilliant. So they're wanting that as well. So, you know. And as an honorary of Caboose's first suit design being that of the Izuku's thing, they actually want to make it like a high-ranking officer's uniform, or a captain or sergeant, something along those lines. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's like, yeah. So, as they are about to continue, then it's like, and finally, the final match of the setup. Izuku, pretty much with Ida, Deku or Omega just tripped him. Or Sigma just tripped him, essentially. Well, no. Gamma tricked him. As when he came blitzing over, they pretty much just stuck out their foot as then Ida went rolling. And fell out. Being unable to regain his balance. So, now it's Deku versus Bakugou. So, this happens as Bakugou comes swinging at Deku, as Delta and them have remembered how Bakugou fought thanks to those memories that keep on slipping up again. Omega always noting that Bakugou always swings with his right, as then he comes swinging with the right, and then is properly punched in the face, as sending Bakugou rolling. Still conscious, but not unconscious, as he comes swinging in, blasting again and again, with shields being set up in front of Deku, with Theta constantly tracking Bakugou's movement, as then they just set up a dome shield around him. As they're like, what are you doing? As then Deku just pretty much starts pushing the shield, as it's like, no. As then Bakugou looks down, just starts blowing into the ground. As he's like, boom, 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 and just tunnels his way up above ground. Or, well, it's trying to, but it's moving so fast that it's like, give up, Bakugou, you lose. As he's like, no! As then he blasts as hard as he could at the back, breaking that part of the shield out, as then it forces Deku to, well, Theta to recoil in actual pain, as then they grab their head, as it's like, that's what I thought, you bastard. As he blasts forward, kicking them right and doing like a double drop kick in the face, or a flying drop kick in the face, sending the meta, or Deku, rolling. As it's like, that's what you get, you shitty nerd. As he comes rushing in. Then Omega grabbing him by the wrist and headbutting him. But then Bakugou blows at his face. As then Omega quickly retaliates by punching Bakugou again, picking him up and suplexing him. As it's like, oh. As then Sigma comes in, just throwing punch after punch, using the speed quirk to their advantage, just throwing dozens of punches in like a few seconds. Bakugou then being brought up by the neck, and then is like, come on, you bastard. As he brings it up again, firing off one of his massive explosions. As then their face was blown off. Not blown off, but seriously damaged, as it's like, is Izuku Midoriya okay? As there's blood and broke up in patches of his skin gone, as it's like, Katsuki Bakugou is, as then Deku heals up and then rushes back in, punching Bakugou right in the face, as then he's properly knocked out. Katsuki Bakugou is unable to continue the match. Winner is Izuku Midoriya. As then they go to the whole ceremony with All Might showing up. Bakugou isn't actually upset this time, being actually kind of content with how he did, is that he gave Deku a run for his money, but he's still pissed off, as Bakugou typically is. being able to accept this loss, as he threw one of his bigger explosions at Deku. And even before then, Deku could have thrown him out if he wanted to. And he blew Deku's face off. And he regenerated from that. So, Bakugou can't be ashamed in that, and is what he's thinking. Since he wasn't going to have his declaration of, I'm going to win. As in, with that finish of that, Theta's out and about being, like, all happy and such. And with Tokiyami and Ida still being in third place, Ida having to run, Deku actually speaking with Ida a bit on the whole scenario. As it's like, okay. As then Delta talks with the rest of them, we must keep an eye on Tenya Ida. He talks about his family quite a lot and how their legacy. He may try to attempt something. As it's like, alright. As they all walk home after speaking with Caboose, his mom, and then speaks with Griff's family a bit more, then with Class 1A, talks with Carolina a bit on how well they did, and then they leave. And that's where I'm going to end it off. I hope you all have enjoyed this. Hope you all continue to enjoy this, and I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.